everyone, welcome to Standup Analysis. I am here. Fudge, it's not Alyssa, it is Alysa. Hey, I'm here with Alysa. We're analyzing a set she did at the Comedy Cellar. We're going to be analyzing the decisions that she made during the stand-up set and maybe get some background into these jokes before we sort of get into the footage. Do you want to give us any context to this material, the show, the audience that we might need before we see how the jokes do?
Yeah, I took a 5-week class with Rick Chrome. And so this was kind of like our showcase after it. It was like friends and family. So like the vibe was good. It was a good time. And some of these jokes, I sandwiched like my really work in progress joke in the middle of my set. So like kind of the beginning and the ending is stuff I have been working on for a few months. And then in the middle was a newbie.
Sure. Okay, great. Yeah, let's check out that footage. Here we go.
We love you, Rick.
We love you.
Yes, I'm so excited to be performing at the Comedy Cellar today. You know, I'm actually celebrating. I just recently had a big birthday. I just turned 30. Yes. Bye.
I always harp on intro moments because at the very top, the audience is learning who we are, and we are very quickly training them either A, this is going to be a group conversation, we're all going to have fun together, you are implicit in this, or we're training them, this is basically going to be a TED Talk, you can sit back in your chairs and you can go into story mode and not laugh as much. So I think it's a great job about taking the energy, give it up to Rick in the room. Great. So we are getting the audience used to making noise, which we definitely want them to feel and train them to do. And then I love the immediate sort of break the silence barrier up top with your first laugh. Great move. And I love the reaction, the sort of follow through you do. I'm turning 30. 5, yeah, ooh. So it seems like, hey, I'm being affected by y'all's reaction to my joke. The more we sort of react to their inputs, the more inputs they want to give us. So as far as we have very aggressively trained the audience in a good way or a bad way at the top, and I think we are training them in a good way in this first sort of intro and joke. So I like at least with a set as is now, I think you're in a great striking position for the rest of the set. So we'll see what happens. When a comic walks on stage, it's like meeting someone at a party, and a lot of comics are too worried about starting their material too fast. As in, imagine you met someone at a party, and this is how the interaction went. Hey, this is my friend William. You should really meet William. Hey, let me talk about my truck. You'd be like, what the hell? No hi, no hello, no who are you? So a lot of comedians blaze over that opening moment about oh, thank you, welcome, hey. You want to validate them for making applause, because that first applause, welcome to the stage, whoever, that's probably your only free applause. So you want to validate and train them thank you, yes, keep doing that. I want this thing you're doing now, I would like you to continue and feel comfortable doing that for the next 5 minutes, yes. Versus if we cut too fast for that opening joke, we can shut down that applause, and we're training them, I just want a little applause, and then I want you guys to shut up. And that training will compound as the set gets longer and longer.
I know, and I feel like you agree with me. Thank you so much. It's my face reads young, but my lower back says, bitch, we need good lumbar support and 2 Advil.
I've watched your other analysis where I'm I'm not reacting to the audience enough, the performance versus I don't know, that thing that really stuck with me where I'm oh, that makes so much sense, where I need to be really listening into the audience and being oh, you think that's funny, and then play with them a little, kind of talk to them.
One thing I've found that helps for people to practice is because you can't approximate the exact thing, just find a friend. Just find a friend and just talk through your set. I'm feeling kind of older, you know me, right? Oh man, I know my face is young, but my back, just like you the other day, you couldn't lift that box. Yeah, my back says, bitch, we need lumbar support. Oh yeah, and just try to actually react to the friend if they have something to say. Let them say it and go back and forth, and it'll get that feeling of the give and take and a less performative version. Because if you perform for your friend's gonna be who are you talking to right now? I am right here, and they'll sort of cut some of that energy and give you a good approximation to how it should feel on stage.
So I'm doing this new thing called completely lying about who I am. Yeah, check it. Me? I'm Gen Z, baby. Slay! Yeah.
First of all, comedians will build like 4 gold mines and then only take gold from the final gold mine. Additionally, they will only take one piece of gold. For example, they'll be like, I went to the store was a CVS, I bought some Red Bull, I drink too much Red Bull, some joke about drinking too much Red Bull. But all of those things could have been the joke. Going to the store, we could make jokes about that. 7-Eleven specifically, we could have made jokes about that. Red Bull, we could have made jokes about that. In this example, we built the Gen Z gold mine and we only took 1 gold from it. So, slay, ow, I'm a savage. Oh, we did so much work to build this gold mine and then we abandoned it after 1 piece of gold. And now we're building a new gold mine, our efficiency is gonna tank. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, yeah.
I'm too cheap to pay for Botox, and like I have to keep this lie up. So I'm just trying to find more affordable methods to stay young. Like I'll be on a Zoom call with my therapist crying, but I don't want to furrow my eyebrows, so I do this. Just like on the call, like, yeah, I'm kind of having a hard time at work. It's hard to keep up with Gen Z, you know? There's so many trends. Yeah, you know, I can't afford Botox because new...
Wait, whoa, we set up this great premise of there's so many trends and then we just abandoned it? I was about to be like, oh, that's such a great way to use the punchline of this joke to be the setup of this joke and just string. But we could have just like, there's so many trends. Like if we didn't burn it before, like I'm a savage. And then we could have gone back to the back game and we could have been stacking these and then gotten really high efficiency if we wanted. Do we see that opportunity?
I'm not leaving. No. You know, like
Wait, that's okay. Okay, but as you pause, this is the face of holy shit, my brain just went blank.
So if that happens, in the room, the audience is going to feel a tension about like, is she okay? Does she remember her words? If we brush past it, that tension is never resolved. It stays in the room. So it's almost better if you go up in your lines to be like, oh shit, guys! I'm so old that I already am forgetting things. Oh, like to at least acknowledge the thing that's happening, so you can resolve that tension about the audience. Like, does she know what's happening? Is she gonna comment? It's almost always better to be vulnerable with the audience.
for those of you visiting, Williamsburg is the Colorado of New York. It's very right there. But it's like, what happened to Williamsburg? It's just filled with fuckboys.
Oh, we could have maybe tied a bow around ethnically ambiguous before moving into Williamsburg for my money. Your thoughts on that joke? I mean, at the end of that, we're saying like, I get called a Greek princess, Italian, I'm ethnically ambiguous. What I actually am is old, remember? Like that. We could have done something to tie a bow around that logical idea, and like, by the way, then dig into Williamsburg. The analogy I like to give is, I call it a laugh ceiling. If the audience is perfectly relaxed, there's no questions in their mind, there's no tension in the room, your laugh ceiling is maximum height. The full audience will laugh, they can be fully relieved, you'll get the biggest laugh possible on a good joke. If there's one question in the audience's mind, boop, until that's resolved, your laugh ceiling has gone down. So even your best joke, there's a slight tension, it'll get this much. If those tensions start stacking on top of each other, we've trained the audience in the weird way. We're not using them. We've left a question in their mind. That ceiling starts to drop down. And some comedians, I don't know if you've done a bunch of open mics or probably some class shows, some people, the ceiling hits the floor and then they go into the death spiral, where then it becomes too hard to break that laugh barrier. And then even their funny jokes, the audience is like, well, I'm not going to be the first one to laugh. And then they sort of like have to like end their like 2 minutes of their set in silence.
Yeah, and it's like, I see your face, you're like, what? It's like, listen, I took a girls trip to Puerto Rico. That's where I learned boat life is for me. Baby life, I'm on the side.
Oh yeah, they're starting to laugh. Boat life is for me. They wanted to give you a laugh, but we kept talking. Like, yeah, we could have pulled back a little bit. Once I understand, like we're at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So like the 5 minutes is coming to an end. Then maybe I've seen the light. I gotta get out. But question: would you rather let's say we prepared, I don't know, 30 jokes for this performance? Would you rather have 30 jokes with a B- reaction from the crowd to all 30 of them, or 20 jokes with an A+ reaction to every single one? You know?
Yeah, I'll take the B. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, she got me. Oh, heckler owned. Ball. I mean, if they're fast enough, you might be able to get more overall laughs by barraging and getting smaller. There's art to it, but like, you sassy. Fine, keep doing what you're doing. I dare you.
Doing it in my mind where I'm like, okay, I'm getting the laughs where I'm supposed to, and then I'm going along. So I think this is really helpful for me to be like, yeah, that's not fully what it's about. I need to like be reacting with the audience and getting more laughs. And I think I'll obviously have way more fun doing that too. I think like the way I'm doing it is like stressful for me.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. Like the more like loosey goosey and playing as if look, it's like hanging out with a bunch of your friends in the living room. You just happen to be the one talking more than your other friends. It's like your friends are saying like, oh yeah, tell us that story you want. Okay, let me go off. But like we're just in a different living room and you just happen to be in the front with a microphone. If I say the word chair, I have a chair in my mind. You have a chair in your mind. They statistically probably not the same chair. But so if the premise is just like chair, there's already chances for us to miscommunicate, for us to not be on the same wavelength, and I have to corral you into the thought I want. If the premise is like chair on a boat, and that chair is like a dinosaur, okay, now we have a miscommunication on boat, on dinosaur, on chair. There's a way bigger chance that the audience isn't going to be seeing it with your exact viewpoint. So like way more corralling has to happen. The more ideas you sort of like put in play. So it's like, especially starting out, the simpler your present premises, New York is expensive. Great, we're good. That's enough. We're there.
But in your opinion, is it like somebody doing it under a year where it's like, yeah, you should be writing?
If our goal is to like start doing paid gigs and stuff, if someone tomorrow was like, hey, can you do 15? Can you do 15? Would you even have like, you know what I'm saying? Would you even have 15 minutes worth of material, let alone like confident material that you wouldn't, that's like, ideally, yeah, we're building up. But for some context, professional comedians usually release one stand-up album a year, which is 1 hour, which is 5 minutes of comedy a month, 5 times 12. So like if you're planning on doing 5 minutes a month of new material that's like battle ready, like that's the rate at which a professional comedian writes material. So yeah, do you want my opinion on open mics?
Yes.
So I usually say open mics are where comedy goes to die, because it's not the same environment as a real show. There's usually crab buckets full of jaded comedians. So the jokes that work in open mics are like, I'm gonna kill myself today, and they're like, oh yeah, and then you do that in front of a real crowd, and the crowd's like, oh, and you get silent. So there is this phenomenon where people are like, these jokes killed in an open mic. Then they get to a real show with like a real non-psychotic audience, and they're calibrated completely wrong. Additionally, like they're going to be more antagonistic in an open mic. Like the feeling of playing with the audience is going to be different. So like and because open mics are easy to go to and real full shows are harder to get, the majority of comics are more calibrated to open mics than they are to real shows. Hey guys, if you made it this far, give a like, comment, subscribe. Both of our socials are in the description if she wants. If not, then I'll make her invisible. Any words of parting to say to a potential people watching this after the fact?
I mean, if you do stand up and you need feedback, William is amazing. I've really learned so much. Like, honestly, this is so helpful. And I feel, that like motivation and excitement to be like, okay, I'm excited for my next show to really kind of work and play with the audience. So this has been incredibly helpful. So thank you.